What's up, Buttercups? Welcome to the show. I am, of course, Brian McWilliams, your beautiful bald host. Looking more bald today. I didn't have a chance to shave the old gourd down. Really looking ancient. But you know what? That's all right. You got to take pride in yourself. I can do it. You know, what's that old Stuart Smalley thing? You know, dang it, people like me. Anyway, welcome, guys. Thank you for joining me here. I wanted to wait and do this show a little bit later than usual because I wanted to take in as much as I could take, as much as I could stomach, of Donald Trump's address to a joint session of Congress, the first one of his new presidency. Now, I will tell you, having two little kids, I was going to try to watch this last night. Ain't no way. You know, the timing of it, 5 p.m. Pacific, right when my kids are getting out of school, right when dinner's happening. So I tried to watch today. I watched about 40 minutes of it. I mean, the damn thing, it's like 100 minutes long. Hey, Donald, I ain't got the time, man. I don't have time to sit for an hour and 45 minutes, or 49 minutes, you know, to wait for this damn thing to end. And of course, as always, you've got the exhibitionism of these events, which is so aggravating in every way. I mean, as much as I respect and admire the screaming nature of the British parliamentary system, which is highly entertaining, having that happen during these events is really aggravating. You know, everybody standing up and applauding things, booing other things, the Democrats refusing to clap for things. You know, it's just like, God damn, can we just move this along? But that being said, I did read a lot of the commentary about it. I read the fact checking, which is interesting. We'll talk about that a little later. And I have my thoughts. So we're going to get to that a little bit towards the end of the show. I'll save that for the second half because there's some things that I wanted to talk about in the first half, which are top of mind. And yet, of course, top of mind being, people that may or may not have committed suicide in prison or may have been murdered by the Clintons, namely Jeffrey Epstein. Pam Bondi, Attorney General Pam Bondi, has gone from a darling of the people like myself who want to see accountability, want to see pedophiles exposed and strung up. Well, this hot old broad, and she is still hot, this hot old broad said that she had the Epstein list on her desk and it was going to be coming out any day now. Wow, couldn't be more excited. Holy moly, was I pumped. There was some rumor. I talked about this on my Good Morning F-Head rants, which I do. Try to do them as much as I can in the morning times, guys. And that is, of course, for our Patreon people, patreon.com/Lions of Liberty or lionsofliberty.locals.com. Get my morning rants. But there was a rumor going around that Kash Patel was going to perp walk these politicians out and that they were going to, Trump was going to name names right there. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't it be incredible? Didn't happen. I mean, I knew it wouldn't, but my God, the look of terror in the eyes, if just one person was escorted out for being on that Epstein list during it, then to see the rats fleeing the ship, you'd see people jumping over each other, jumping off balconies to escape the joint session of Congress, racing for the boat to get out to the island, to get out to their Swiss bank accounts. It would have been amazing, but was not to be. So anyway, Pam Bondi says, I've got the list. And then we see this ridiculous spectacle where DC Drano and, some other MAGA super conservative assholes, and I do not like DC Drano, to be clear, and I don't like a lot of these really hyper conservative MAGA people, but they come out with lists that say, Epstein list phase 1. What do we get from that? Nothing. Absolutely nothing, other than these people got some, more followers, they got some attention, they got some media coverage for what? Because then we find out that there's like 200 pages still missing, that the department in New York is holding on to the pages. So Pam says, well, we're going to threaten, we're going to fire these people. Great. All for it. Get rid of them. The head of the FBI in New York says, Trump says, turning to resignation. Great. All for it. Hey, King Jay, good afternoon to you. So then Pam Bondi is wheezing and whining. Oh, well, I'm going to make sure to get this. Okay. Then it comes out that, well, there will be some redactions, but for the victims. Okay, everybody says, okay, that's fine. We can go with that. We don't want to have these poor victims out there. Nobody wants that. We want to see who was diddling these people. Give us the deep dickin' info. That's what we want to see. And probably I'm sure it's women too. Pedophiles across all spectrums, while there's legally two genders now, which I'm all for, I'm sure that there's all sorts of in-betweens, self-identified, that are on this list as well. It's an equal opportunity CIA/Mossad operation that Epstein was running. So, Pam says, now, well, we're also going to redact things that are vital to national security. Vital to national security. Vital to whose national security? Vital to the pedophile elite's security? Vital to the CIA and national security matters? Because I would imagine any operation, and Jeffrey Epstein was a CIA asset, let's not forget, as well as a rumored Mossad agent. He did have an Israeli passport. So if there's a joint operation between the CIA and Mossad that lures in high-profile pedophiles and then gets information, gets video, gets blackmailing in order to control these people, it certainly seems like it would be a matter of national security not to release that. It certainly seems to me that the national security clearance level of some would-be pedos on that list would certainly be up there in things that would have to be redacted then, right? I mean, this is just simple logic here. So this entire purpose of the list, the entire point of releasing it, is now completely fucking copped out. What's the point? If you're going to redact names for national security, well, anybody we want to see on there, anybody that's important, anybody that has security clearances and has access to classified info and all this other shit, they're probably going to be redacted, are they not? Because that's protecting national security. So this whole thing is a joke. Sound and fury, signifying nothing, to quote Shakespeare. Utterly pointless. Now, do I think Trump was on the list? No, I don't. I do not think Donald Trump is on the Epstein list. From the reports I've read, Trump actually kicked Epstein from his presence or walked out when it was, found to be diddling the kittlins. But again, I don't know for sure. I have no idea. That's what I read. That's what I believe. I actually don't think he's on the list. But this whole national security thing is just the biggest cop out. It's completely ridiculous. And I'm angry that we're even wasting time talking about it now. I'm angry at myself for wasting time, but somebody's got to vent about this, and it might as well be me. All right, so there's that little nugget. Let me look at my notes here. One thing I wanted to talk about, too, as we get into this is leading into this entire joint Congress address that Trump gave, the Democrats, who are the biggest hypocrite fucks on the planet, other than the GOP, we'll talk about that too, equally hypocritical, these people. So they put out a ridiculous video. And every one of these, like 25 of them, these different jag-off senators, they're reading the exact same script. I mean, it's verbatim. They had, I think I saw Elizabeth Warren and Cory Booker doing it, or Chuck Schumer and Warren. It is verbatim, the exact same speech. All these assholes looking into camera, holding their little microphones, giving this diatribe about Elon Musk and Donald Trump and how this is that and that. And it's like, do you people not understand the internet? I mean, the Democrats, I honestly don't think do. Everything they've done tactically throughout the Harris administration, throughout the Biden-Harris administration, don't comprehend the internet. The power of the internet to fact check you. I mean, essentially, once they lost the power to censor and control the narrative illegally and unconstitutionally, well, once the Biden administration got exposed for that, they lost the entire narrative. They don't seem to get the concept that when you put shit like this out, it's very easy to find and compare and weed out that this is a talking point. This is a script passed down to you from the DNC that you are now parroting, and you expect people to buy it. I mean, it's like these assholes all in unison are accusing Donald Trump of raising the price of eggs. Like I'm talking about how the @Democrats account, one of my favorite accounts to mock regularly because they also don't get it. Somehow they're running a social media account, which has lost a lot of influence, obviously. Somebody's running the social media account, putting up the dumbest gaslighting bullshit I've ever heard. They just pointed out that Donald Trump hasn't done X, Y, and Z in his first 30 days. No shit. Donald Trump is not Jesus. I talked about my buddy Lou Perez had a great skit about Donald Trump that was like, stop making me defend Donald Trump. Yes, we're back to that because Democrats are saying that he should have what? Cured cancer, brought the world to its knees under our thundering power in the first 40 days of his presidency. Like, what are you talking about? Now, the funny part of that is Donald Trump will tell you that he's done it all. I don't want to get off track, so I'm going to get to this in a little bit, but he started his address to the joint session of Congress basically going, well, I have the most successful presidency in history, and some list, and this is, I gotta say, Donald Trump is funny, man. It cracks me up. He goes, there was a list put out, and my presidency is the most successful in history. Number 2 on the list was George Washington. George fucking Washington. Donald Trump and then George Washington after the first 40 days. God damn, that's funny. But, you know, he's saying that he accomplished all these things. And I'm going to talk about that at length because he has not. He hasn't. But the Democrats, at the same time, get the fuck out of here. You're saying, oh, all of his promises have failed. He's been in there like a month. And you know, obviously you people are fighting tooth and nail to stop everything he's trying to do. But also, they had tweeted about eggs, which is another thing that Trump talked about, eggs. And they're blaming Trump. Donald Trump is the highest president. The bird flu is why the eggs are expensive. Because you, especially, again, this started under Biden, killing off all these fucking birds because of the bird flu, because the World Health Organization, which I'm so happy we're not funding anymore and we're not part of, they're like, watch out for the bird flu. That's the next big thing that we're going to get our money from. This is the next big scare we're going to put into people for no good reason. And they kill all the birds. I remember one time my PR agency had a client and they had a drug that was, they were trying to make effective for treating the bird flu. And this has nothing to do with anything, but it's just a funny story. So the head scientist for this new compound, he gets an interview, and I think this is in Arizona on a local TV station. And they go, well, what is this treatment for the birds? He goes, well, yeah, this helps with the bird flu. He's like, because you can't kill the birds. You can't kill all the birds. I mean, it was one of those, it's like, what are you doing, psycho? Yeah, nobody's asking you to kill all the birds. But anyway, that's what the Biden administration started to do. And that's why we're in the place we are with prices of eggs. So just shut up about eggs. All right. But anyway, so these Democrats, they don't seem to understand that all this gaslighting, all this dumb shit that they continuously do and don't seem to evolve from, including, again, the same at Democrats account, they have a the eggs on the shelf, and they had stolen, some jerk off has stolen the concept. They thought this was their great idea because the left cannot meme to use the Biden, I did that, little stickers that people were putting all over gas and everything else when Biden drove inflation through the ceiling with asinine climate regulations, COVID spending, you name it, you got it. They took that and had Trump pointing to the eggs, and they're like, this'll get him. Aha! Take that, Trump, take that, right? I mean, it's just so easily disproven, so unbelievably ignorant to how the world operates now. These people haven't evolved. The Democrats are showcasing that strongly because they just had a vote on a bill essentially, which would, it's like protecting women's sports or something like that. The Democrats didn't allow this to pass in the Senate. They voted every single vote, went against it by the Democrats. And this is highly ironic because, of course, Democrats say that they're all about empowering women. Now, I have been very clear on my stance on men in women's sports. I don't think it should be permitted in any way. If you want to be, if you want to change your sex, you go ahead and do it. It's your life. Do what you want. You don't have the right to infringe on other people's rights, other people's spaces, period. I'm sorry, you don't. And for men to go into women's sports where they have an unbelievable physical advantage, as evidenced by Trump mentioned in his address, a point where a woman's face got smashed and she has fucking brain damage because of a man smashing a volleyball at her at such a high rate of speed. She wasn't able to react in time. It doesn't have the musculature and the bone structure, I guess, to deflect a million-hour volleyball. That's not right. The boxing in the Olympics is not right. The Leah Thompson or Leah Thomas, whatever the fuck that jerk-off's name, who broke all the women's records, isn't right. I just saw yesterday a trans athlete, a male, competing in the track and field events, and I can't remember what it was, maybe Massachusetts, beat all the women, setting a new record by 8 feet in the long jump. 8 feet. 8 feet. This is ridiculous. So every Democrat voted against the bill that would have codified women and men being separate in sports. Have a separate transgender area. Have a open competition is the solution to this. Not forcing women to accept this, disenfranchising them, removing their capability to succeed, absolutely demoralizing them and taking away scholarships. It's absurd. But what was amazing in the hypocrisy shown here is all these women show up wearing pink to the joint congressional address here to oppose Trump's treatment of women? What? What has Trump done to women? Are they still trying to play the abortion card? Is that what this is about? Because I'm sorry, statistically, there has been no drop in abortions. There's no, there's not people that are dying in the streets because they can't get abortions. It hasn't happened. As everybody knew it wasn't going to happen. It hasn't happened. In fact, abortions went up. So what exactly has Trump done to disenfranchise women? Oh, nothing. Nothing. But these assholes will wear pink in unison to try to make you think that he's done something while they are actually voting as a block to fuck over women and young girls in sport. It's unbelievable. And you can see like the polls that have come out on Americans and their support for men playing in women's sports, aka transgenders or people that identify as women. It's the same as women going to men's prisons, very unpopular. 80% of Americans do not think men should be playing in women's sports. 80%. And that includes 67% of Democrats. How it's not higher, I don't know. Maybe it's because, I guess 33% of Democrats are clearly, identifying as transgender or are assholes who don't have children and so don't get it, don't care, probably don't like sports. And so they say, fuck them. That's the 33% because there's no rational explanation for being in favor of it. And for the Democrats to ignore Americans, the will of the people, the majority opinion to that extent, where not a single one of them will cross the aisle to vote for logic and reason after demonstrable ill effects to women and girls, just tells you everything you need to know. They do not represent you. They do not represent America. They don't give a flying fuck about what you think or, again, common sense. They have an agenda. They have money coming in. They're being handed that, again, this is from on high, from God knows the Soroses of the world that are pushing this radical agenda. These people deserve to be thrown out on their fucking ass. Every goddamn one of them. All right. So, as I said, though, hypocrites abound. Where are the other hypocrites? Oh, that's right. Well, it's the people in the GOP who, for every one of these people, except for Thomas Massie, voted to push forward the continuing resolution to fund the government with no changes. So all the shit that Doge is doing, that, lovely to point it out. Love it. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Great that they're doing it. Great they're trying to cut budgets here and there. But the problem is all the spending that's still in place that Doge is finding, that shit's going to keep going for another year. Because all these hypocrite coward fucks that get their money from various places in the Republican side, they voted for the continuing resolution. Except for Thomas Massie. It's really unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. The only member of the House to vote against it on the GOP side. So there you go. Hypocrites to the left of me, hypocrites to the right of me. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you people. You people. Okay, let's get into Trump, what he said here. I'll try not to go too deep and too long into this. I know a lot of people are talking about it, so I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to my opinion. So, like I said, Trump, he's starting off with some big boasts. that his presidency is the greatest of all time, that his economy was the greatest of all time, which of course is not true. That he comes out saying, and I talked about the George Washington thing, which is really funny. He also had a very funny line talking about how they're ending the lawfare that's gone on. And look, to Trump's credit, I will say, he doesn't seem to be going after his enemies with the type of vitriol that I expected. That's admirable. I don't know if it's smart, but it's admirable. And what was funny is he goes, well, we're going to maintain the lawfare. We're not going to use our political powers and our justice powers to go after our opponents. Look what they did to me. How did that turn out? That was hilarious. Funny line. Very, 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 very funny. Again, Trump, he cracks me up a few times. I watched like 40 minutes of it. I laughed out loud several times. He's just got a funny way about him. So after these, he's talking about these different aspects of what he's trying to accomplish, right? That they've frozen foreign aid. Yes, love it. Thank you. Freeze it forever. No more foreign aid, which includes fucking Israel. No more money to Israel. Shitbag Rubio just used some sneaky measure to send $4 billion to Israel right after we had, lauded Trump for standing up and saying no more money for Ukraine, which looks like probably we'll still get money to Ukraine. But after we say, great, stop funding this bullshit, these foreign entanglements we should not be a part of, in wars that don't concern us, they can only endanger us. Stand up, no more World War III. Well, guess what? You funding Israel can still lead to World War III. Them destabilizing that region by continuous war, funding them, giving all these military backings and money to keep this fucking genocide in Gaza going on, that's not great. Them bombing their neighbors, going across borders and dropping bombs in Libya and dropping bombs in Iran and killing, it's like, this is not great. This can also set off an interaction that can lead to World War III. You're still funding it because it's Israel doesn't make it okay. So I love that he's like, we froze it all foreign aid. No, you fucking didn't, because Rubio just sent $4 billion. So you fucking didn't. So that's a lie. At the same time, there's some good stuff dropping out of the stupid Human Rights Council, which is an international organization. Great. Getting out of the Paris Accords. Fantastic. Love it. You did accomplish those things. Getting out of the World Health Organization. Great. The regulations, saying we're going back to taking 10 away to add 1. Fantastic. Brilliant. Love it. Getting the EV mandate killed federally. Love it. Killing all the federally mandated DEI nonsense. Great. Love it. 2 genders. I'm all for it because guess what? Biologically, there are only 2 genders. You can play, you can pretend you're in the middle, you can have sex with whatever you fucking want to have sex with. I don't give a shit. But there are 2 genders biologically, and that's it. And if you fudge that, then it opens up all sorts of loopholes and fuckholes for people to go, like I said, play in women's sports, go to women's prisons, identify as a woman, go to women's prison and start raping everybody, which is happening. Statistically. Nonstop. The stuff he's done, again, he's boasting about the regulations, powered, getting power plants turned back on. Great, love it. Fantastic. Drilling, wonderful, love it. Absolutely. Creating Doge, love it. But the thing is, and I'll talk about the tariffs in a minute. The thing is, a lot of these measures can be undone. I just talked about Doge, all the good work Doge is doing. And look, what Doge is doing is more important than just beyond the cost-cutting measures. It's also about educating the public on what's happening, on government, on waste, on fraud, on the abuse of the system, on blank checks being handed out. And he specifically calls out Stacey Abrams, a woman who I cannot despise any more than I do. This gross lump, it's like Pizza the Hut. So this gross lump, Stacey Abrams, who somehow has weaseled her way into becoming a power player in the Democrat Party, gets paid millions of dollars for a just created organization. I mean, out of nowhere, just because she's one of the favored patron saints. Well, I guess the patron saints, the government. She's one of the favored few of the Biden administration of the DNC complex. So she gets handed millions of dollars for an organization that does nothing, that was just created. Exposing that is key. Talking about the Social Security Administration, talking about USAID, talking about all these insane programs and payments. Trump was listing them off, which is fantastic. $60 million for Colombian pride. What? What? That is vitally important to getting people to wake up to the size and scope of our government and how much is just wasted on stuff that does not concern any American and never will. But at the same time, like I'm saying, we don't know what's going to stick. Executive orders as a whole are not great. I get what we're doing. I'm for almost all of what was going on with these executive orders, but I'm still cognizant of the fact that they can be reversed. That you get a different person in there, a different administration, and now they put 800 executive orders out. Trump's boasted, I'd put 400 out. Oh, that's lovely. The next thing I can do 500, 600. It'll be like the home run competition. Who could hit the most executive orders out of the park here? And fuck the approval process. Fuck Congress. Fuck everything. Just get them done. And we said we flood the zone. That's concerning. And we don't know what's going to stick. I mean, just recently, some asshole, sub-judge said that all the payments that have been frozen, like the 1.9 billion and whatever payments, well, they got to still go out for U.S. aid. The Supreme Court somehow backed it up, even though Alito and several others, Gorsuch and Kavanaugh and other people that don't have their fucking heads up their ass, argued that this is insanity. Well, guess what? Those payments are going to go out because the machine still wants them to go out. Every Democrat that gives two fucks about how much you're paying and your quality of living and would rather sacrifice you on the altar of the beliefs that they hold, these, the far left-wing beliefs and the message and the mission, fuck you, America. We're going to keep paying Stacey Abrams is essentially the message. So I don't know what's going to stick. And it's concerning when you have that many executive orders, you know what's going to stick. So King James wants to know, what would you say if a state has asked me, how would you build roads if we no longer have taxes? Well, simply, people that need to utilize a system, aka roads, will pay for those roads. You'll still have people that'll offer to build roads, that'll maintain those roads, and probably maintain them far better than a local government would. Because governments, have you seen the level of roads, the level of incompetence, how long it takes, the expense it takes? Roads existed before government built roads, by the way. They've always existed. They always been taken care of. And people just, even if it's a dirt track, but guess what? Somebody will go, hey, do you guys want me to pave this dirt track? Well, you can pay me to do that. It's a very simple process, not difficult. So we don't need taxes for roads. All right, let's move on a little bit into this tariff shit. So I'll talk about tariffs, and then I'll talk a little bit about the fact check response to this, and then we'll call it a day. Tariffs are problematic in that what we're talking about here, like this is what really bugs the shit at me with these tariffs. Trump is using them as a negotiating tactic, right? Now they're being enforced. They just got levied, like 25% here, 25% there, doubling of Chinese imports. Now, those tariffs are going to have repercussions, right? And I acknowledge Trump talks, but yes, we have tariffs coming from our country on imports to India, on imports to Canada, and whatever these countries are. They tax the shit out of us. They tariff the shit out of us on imports of certain goods. But the problem is when you've got a trade war and now you've got other countries reciprocating, and you say, okay, well, now we're putting tariffs on these goods. They're putting higher tariffs of our goods. They're taking shit off the shelves. We're now looking at a specific set of industries that we are exporting that are getting higher tariffs put on them by these countries, right? So let's say the auto tariffs. Great. So you say there's 100% tariff that's put on the automobiles going into India or Japan. Okay. So that makes it more expensive for foreigners to buy automobiles. When you've got a trade war going on with tariffs, and now there's tariffs on all goods coming in from China or all goods coming in from Mexico or whatever it might be. And I know that China specifically, you doubled the amount of tariffs on that. Well, now it's not just that one thing costs more coming from China. Like I'm saying, the impact is on one industry outgoing. Trump is making it an impact on everything coming from China the other way. So all the goods that we take for granted, the cheap shirts, the cheap coffee makers, the cheap, whatever it is, utensils, shit, all that shit doubles in, well, not doubles in price, but is at least getting a 10% cost increase. And we don't know where it's going to go from there. And that's what drives me nuts about any protectionist measures. This is what I fucking hate about unions. This is what I hate about tariffs. This is what I hate about handouts and bailouts for certain industries. Protectionist measures fuck the grander population over at the, at the whim of a very small segment. And yes, would I love domestic auto, manufacturing to come back? Sure. I want all manufacturing to come back strong here in America. But guess what? Unions are going to be a problem for that, because you're always going to have an exceptionally high labor cost, retirement cost, all this crap that's built in that makes something so much more expensive for what, I'm sorry, is typically fairly simple standard labor that anybody can learn to do, but they get paid as though it's a specialist, like you're a doctor performing surgery. That's going to be a problem. On the other side, you also have, like I said, like the industries that have to take some time to come up for other products, like all these products from China that are far more expensive now that we get for cheap, to create those domestically. Yes, it creates a more even marketplace. Maybe you could create a industry to come up and produce those products here domestically at cheaper or the same cost. Great, you boost domestic production, but that takes time. And in the meantime, you're going to stick the American population that's just gone through an inflationary process with even higher costs of goods while the markets catch up, while the industry catches up. You could argue, perhaps, that maybe we need to do this, right? We got to start fresh. We got to even out the playing field to get okay, it's a little temporary pain. I understand you could say that, but there's no fucking guarantee. And in the meantime, you're bending people over a barrel at a time when they've just come out of getting ass fucked by Biden to the point where people couldn't afford gasoline. When you've got a situation where you're creating so much of a higher cost of living here and a higher cost of doing business because of parts and manufacturing concerns that come in from other nations that we don't manufacture here, you are going to have a real problem. And I don't know. My hope against hope here is that these tariffs are a very temporary thing that, as we've seen before, Trump will threaten stuff, he'll put it into action, and then these other countries will say, okay, well, we'll play ball. I'm really hoping that's the case. I'm really hoping that, similar to how Mexico had said we're going to crack down on fentanyl and border crossers here because of these imposed tariffs, I'm hoping the same thing will happen. These will be temporary. They'll say, okay, fine. You know what? We're going to knock down the tariffs. Well, everybody's tariffs will go down. We're going to reduce the tariffs on American goods down to 25%. 25% are like, hey, no tariffs, right? Let's get rid of all the tariffs. Maybe that'll happen. I don't think so. But you know me, I'm an internal opposite or eternal optimist. Eternal opposite. Eternal optimist. Can't talk. These tariffs have got my brain. A tariff on my mental capacity today. Hey, Jason Carrier, what's up? Damn, man, heart. Anywho, yeah, I just don't know, guys. But I will say this. I will, unlike so many others, I will wait and see. I hate proclamations from people, libertarians especially, that will condemn loudly everything and anything and, shout to the moon, that's just fucking evil. Okay, well, look, shut the fuck up. Let's see what happens, right? See how the tactic plays out. If it works, okay. If it doesn't, then you can get your scabbard out, pull the saber from the sheath, and start rattling that bitch. But let's fucking shut up and see what happens first. Oh, and by the way, I did really appreciate Linda McMahon coming up and saying, hey, we're going to dismantle the Department of Education. I'm not sure if Trump got to that later in his speech or not, but let's do it. Biggest piece of shit org ever. All right. Last thing is I was looking at the fact checks, right? As I wanted to see, where's the fact check in here? What are they saying? It's been interesting. And this is really telling. And I don't know if this is telling to the point where it's the broader cultural shift. And there is a cultural shift, mind you, in how Americans are viewing Trump. And again, Doge is unbelievably popular. The fact checks I read were interesting in that they were not what the media used to do with Trump, which is just fact check the shit out of everything and say it was false and say that he was full of it and kind of cherry pick things that they could tag him on. What was interesting was that I saw, and I read an ABC one and one other one. They, I think, refrained intentionally from saying that things are flat out false. The one I saw, ABC in particular, had said, well, they said it was true on a couple of different items, like different matters of policy that he had done. Others, like with Doge, to my point, like I was saying earlier, I was shocked because they said, well, incomplete. We don't know. Like Doge, I think they said unverifiable because, you say we're doing this and now we found the fraud. You're like, well, we don't know. It's unverifiable. Or they said incomplete, like, for example, stuff with, tariffs, like we don't know, wait and see. We don't know. We're not going to, we're going to pick this topic out because he's done it factually or he said it, but we don't know. And in the past, you would have seen them say that's false. And they would have, picked something in there that they could say was demonstrably incorrect just to key on it, just to make him look bad. And I saw a lot of these fact checks didn't do that. And I think that's indicative of a cultural shift. They know people, number one, unlike the Democrats, the media is starting to wake up to the fact that people just don't believe their bullshit anymore and can easily find out for themselves, but also that people don't want to see this blatant media bias anymore. They want to hear some facts. Great. It's, look, here's what he said. We don't know if it's going to happen. We can't verify it, or we'll wait and see. Great. That makes me actually want to read your recap because now you're giving me something I can work with. Maybe you're giving me a little bit of background information, but you're being honest in that you don't fucking know either. So don't tell me that he's full of shit because he misquoted whatever. Walt Whitman. I think Trump's pulling out an old Whitman out of his pocket. But you get my point. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. Remember, you can support our show by going to patreon.com or to Locals. We're on both. Get on our membership here. And by the way, huge announcement's going to be coming towards the beginning of next month. So you might want to get on that Patreon now before then prices go up, as I think they're going to. So hop on there. Also, if you want to support, we have a longtime sponsor of the show, Crowd Health. This is not health insurance. I love Crowd Health. You could get in there and join a community of other people that are voluntarily helping each other out. You could get in for as little as $99 a month by using promo code LIONS at joincrowdhealth.com. It's just a great service. They've been a real supporter of ours for many years. So if you are in need of insurance adjacent care with somebody that actually gives a shit, and in a voluntary community that helps you out, keeping prices low and negotiating directly with your providers, check out joincrowdhealth.com. Use that promo code LIONS. All right, that's it. Yes, you caught it live, Jason. You did it, buddy. All right, guys, for me, Brian McWilliams from the Lions of Liberty Network, and for Mean Age Daydream, keep those electric eyes on me, babe. Keep that ray gun to my head. All right, later.